Let's see. Is this going to flip? Yes, we are flipped. I apologize for that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's this phone or if it's just YouTube. It wouldn't surprise me if it's YouTube. Every time I have it flip to show my desktop for some reason, it'll show it, and then as soon as I go live, it flips it to show you my ceiling. So, whoops. Let's turn off the volume. We don't need to hear me twice. So, with all that, hello everybody. This is Carla, and welcome back to the studio. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. Throwback Thursdays are where I pull out my retired stash and I create two projects. Now, if it's just a stamp set, it could be a bundle, it could be a whole suite of products. So for this week, I'm using a bundle. It's called Posted for You. So there's the Posted for You Cling Stamp Set along with the rectangle, hold on, the rectangular postage stamp punch. I don't have the label on the side of this. I should add it. But yeah, this is the rectangular postage stamp punch. These were, trying to think what year. I think it was like in 2020, 2021 when this bundle was available. So this is what we're going to use for our video. So let me get the stuff that we're going to use for our first card. So for my pieces, I have for my card base. This is Balmy Blue. It measures 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of basic white. This measures 5.25 by 4. Ahead of time, I had embossed one half of, well, a little more than half of this panel using the Meadow Moments embossing folders. Now, these are the mini embossing folders. These when they came out with these would go with, you can use this in your mini stamp and emboss machine, but you can also use it in your regular size. Now, these are the regular embossing folders. These are not the 3D. So you have one pattern here that's got the leaves, flowers, and then some butterflies. And then you have this other pattern where you just have some leaves and, a couple of spots and all that. Um, Trying to show what this looks like without the glare. So you have a few little spots up here, and then you have some like floating leaves down here. So we're actually using both of these embossing folders on both of our cards for this episode. So here's a picture, a little bit better to see what they look like. So ahead of time, I did emboss. It's a little more than half of this cardstock with that embossing folder. And then I have a piece of, this is Balmy Blue. This measures 2.5 by 1 7/8. And then I have a scrap of basic white cardstock where I'm going to stamp our image and then we're going to punch it out, as you can see, with our rectangular postage stamp punch. That's a lot of words for the name of a punch. So we'll start out. We'll fold and burnish our card base. And I will apologize in advance if I end up coughing. I'm going to try and not to. I do have kind of a cold going on, so hopefully I can get through this. And then hopefully tomorrow night when I go live at 7 p.m., I can get through that and I can kind of get this crud just gone because I just feel just a little congested. So I'm going to apologize if I cough and I'm going to really try not to. I do have some water nearby just in case. So, okay. So I'm going to take my scrap piece and I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat. Now this is a red rubber stamp set, so you really don't need any foam underneath it, like you would if you were using a photopolymer stamp set. I'm using it because it'll be a little bit easier of seeing this piece of white cardstock, as opposed if I had it directly on my white grid paper. So it's just so I can see where I'm stamping a little bit easier. So I'm going to pull out this stamp that has the two birds on it. And then I also want the stamp that says happy birthday. So let me get my blocks. Let's get our bigger one here. Okay, and then our happy birthday. Now, I don't have the stickers on mine, so I'm going to look at the bottom edge of my block, and I'm going to kind of line up the bottom of that greeting. And hopefully we got it straight. It's not a little wonky. Okay. So the ink that I'm going to use to stamp with is going to be my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now I've explained this in past videos. The Memento Tuxedo Black ink, it is a felt pad. Yeah, felt pad. I have found, and maybe you have too, when you stamp, that when you use Memento, you don't get that really dark, crisp black image. Usually it looks a little faded. It's not like Stays On, which is a solvent ink where you really get that dark, deep black image. So I didn't come up with this. This is an idea that I saw other demonstrators do. We sell the white stamping pad, the craft stamping pad. When you get this, the ink pads are uninked. So it's a felt, it's not a felt, but it's a foam pad. It's uninked. And you also get a white re-inker. Now, the white ink, it's more like it's a pigment ink, but it's the consistency of it to me is like a white acrylic paint. And so with these ink pads coming to you uninked, what I have done is I've taken a re-inker of the Tuxedo Black ink and I inked up this whole ink pad. And I have found that when I go to stamp anything using this ink pad, that my black is nice and dark and it's crisp. And that's good, you know, because remember, if you're going to color with your Stamp and Blend markers, which is what I'm going to do on this card, alcohol ink is, as far as these markers go, you cannot use your Stays On ink pad to stamp and then color with these because you'll just smear that black ink. So if you want to use alcohol markers, you either use your Memento Tuxedo Black ink or you can use any of the many colors of the Stampin' Up dye-based ink to color with these. Again, the Stays On, don't use that if you're going to use your blends because you'll just smear that black ink. See, this is what I'm talking about. I think I got to do less talking and maybe that'll help. So if I, excuse me, so if I seem a little quiet at times, I'm just avoiding trying to, on having to cough. So I apologize ahead of time. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my image with the birds. I'm going to ink that up. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp that right over here. Like so. Okay, we'll close that up. And then we want this to dry some. So I'm going to set that aside. And we'll move that stamp. Then what I want to do on this piece here, that a basic white that I have embossed. Now this piece of Balmy blue is actually going to be a border for this punched out image. So I'm going to place this about where I want to place it on my card. And the reason why I want to do this is because I want to take my happy birthday and I want to stamp it right below it. So I kind of need that right there, just kind of like as my place marker. So let me open up my ink again and ink up my happy birthday. And because this ink pad is really inky, I don't want to really dig my stamp into the ink. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp my happy birthday like so. Okay. So we'll close that up. And then again, I really want this to be dry before I start to color it. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to kind of decorate this a little bit and then I'm going to adhere it to my card base. I'm going to use the Baker's Twine 3 color pack. These are currently in the annual catalog and I apologize. I don't even know if these are retiring or not. It has Balmy Blue, Flirty Flamingo, and Lemon Lolly. So I'm going to use some of the Balmy Blue in here. And then I want a piece. I'm going to wrap this around. Now, I can do this in one piece where I wrap it around and I tie a bow. But I want to kind of make it a little bit easy. I don't want to fight with it. So I have my Scotch tape. And I'm going to line this up right there at the bottom of that embossing. So we'll wrap this like so. And my tape is like wrapped around my finger here. And we'll tape that down. And then we'll get another piece. And we'll wrap this around. And we'll add that right there. Okay, so that's lined up with that. And then I'm going to create a little bow. So I'm going to take a piece and wrap it, come up from underneath, and first tie a knot, and then we'll tie our bow. By doing it this way too, I'm also able to take this bow and I can slide it so I can put it in the exact spot that I want it. So now the thing is with Baker's Twine, it does get a little twisted up. So if you get your loops laying flat, just put your finger over that knot and then pull that one end pretty kind of slowly. And you'll see that your bow, your loops are not all twisted up and wonky. And then we'll trim our ends like so. And we're done with that. Okay. Then we're going to take our adhesive and we're going to adhere, actually, we're going to adhere this to our card base. Let me get this. Let's see if my seal is going to cooperate for some reason. And this is doing it again. And this drives me crazy because I've had a couple of refills that I got that for some reason, I don't know what's going on with it, but the what do I want to call it? That acetate ribbon that the adhesive is on. For some reason, it's folding over, and it's just not, yeah, I don't want to waste it because, you know, the refills, one, I don't have that many of them, and you know, they do cost money, so I want to be able to use it. So sometimes I have to do that so I can actually use it. It's already started to do it. See, that's what drives me crazy. I'm so sorry, guys. I have another one of these that actually started doing the same thing, and I put it aside. It's just frustrating that it does that. And the thing is, I bought I bought a bunch of them a while back, and not all of them do that. Okay. So we got that. Bring in my card base, and we'll center that. Okay, and then we're gonna take this piece here, and we're not going to do anything quite yet. We're going to actually do our coloring, and then we'll add all of that onto our card. So the colors of, and I apologize, I feel like I'm just all over the place, that I know what it is I want to say, but then it's like, okay, all of a sudden it's like my brain doesn't want to really, get those words in the right order, and sometimes I get ahead of myself. And this is what happens when you start recording and you go, well, technically I'm live, but nobody's watching me because I'm actually recording this in private mode. So to color this in, it's going to be very simple. These leaf branches I'm going to do in both my light and dark granny apple green. And then my birds are going to be in the dark and light balmy blue. So I'm going to start with my light colors, and I'm going to color in the images, and then I'll come back in with the dark, and I'll just add like some really simple and quick shadows, because these images are so small. I don't want to take time to do so much blending that then you have the ink bleed out from your stamped image. So all the leaves, I'm filling those all in with the light granny apple green. And because I'm not doing a whole lot of like detailed shading on this, I want to let the light dry some before I go over any of the spots with the dark, because I want to be able to see that dark. I don't want it to blend with the light. Okay, and then I'm going to take my light balmy blue, and I'm going to color in my birds. Okay, and then we're going to let those dry before we come in with the dark. Okay, so let's get our dark granny apple green. And I'm just going to add a couple little scribbles in the leaves here. Nothing fancy. Okay. And then we'll get our dark balmy blue, and we'll kind of come in and do some areas on our birds here. So when this also dries, it is going to lighten up a little bit too. Okay, and then let's get our punch, which I have sitting over here. Yeah, let's center this. Punch that out. And then we're going to add some adhesive to the back of this. And we'll center that on our piece of balmy blue. Like so. And then we'll add some dimensionals to the back of this. We'll do one in the middle. Oh, about the middle. Okay, and then we're going to place this right. We're going to look at where our happy birthday is. And we're going to kind of center that. And make sure that's straight on there. And of course, now I'm looking at it and my piece of white is not on there very straight. And I don't want to pull it apart because I don't want it to tear. All right, and then I'm going to take this bow and I'm just going to slide it right up against that balmy blue cardstock, like so. And then I'm going to bring in something that had been around for a really long time, but it had been retired because they came out with the iridescent pearls. And this needs to be pushed up some so that way it looks straight. So these are the original pearl basic jewels. So this is like really old because this is the old packaging. And I'm going to add 2 of these on here. I'm going to add a larger one and then a medium-sized one right there. And then one other bit of embellishment on here. I'm going to bring in my clear Wink of Stella, and I'm going to add some only on to these birds. What I like about putting Wink of Stella over areas that I've used the Stampin' Blends on, I find that this not only adds the sparkle to it, but it also really brings out the color even more, makes it a little bit bolder. So there is our first card. Really super cute. So our second card is a really, really quick card. It came together really, really quick. So for this one, I have these pieces. I have some pieces that I've already punched out and I have embossed. Now on this one, I use that that set of embossing folders again. This time I used these leaves. And so let me tell you what the dimensions of what I got here is. So my card base is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and this is Misty Moonlight. Out of a scrap of Poppy Parade cardstock, I had punched out 2 with this rectangle postage punch. And then after I punched them out, I ran them through the embossing folder. And then I punched out 2 more. This is out of the Flowers for Every Season designer series paper. This was the year that we had those in colors of the Misty Moonlight, Magenta Madness, Just Jade, Bumblebee, and I'm missing a color. Oh, and there was Cinnamon Cider in it as well. So I have a scrap of basic white. I'm going to stamp on this and we're going to punch that out. So I'm going to start off with kind of putting together my card base. So I'm going to fold and burnish this. And then I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to add adhesive to them. Now, I think I don't want to fight with that Stampin' Seal. So I want to bring in my liquid glue. And I'm going to start off with, actually, let me do this. I'm going to kind of place these where I want them. Make it a little bit easier for placing them down. Okay. I'll make sure my card base is straight. And I want to come in. And let's see, hopefully I got that straight. Okay, press that down. Then, once you get the one down, then you can kind of use that to line up the rest of them. This one, I want to try and have the same amount of distance from the left and the right side here. Just a little bit, and then we have one more to put down. And this one will go right up here, and I'm going to have a little bit of glue that I'm going to have to wipe up. That one's kind of slipping and sliding a little bit. Okay, so let's put that aside and let's do a little bit of our stamping. So for this one, I'm going to bring in, again, I'm going to bring in my Pearson mat just so I can see where I'm stamping. So I'm going to bring in this floral image and just a note. And let me get a block. Let me see how I want to put this. Okay, that's good. And then let's get another block for just a note. And again, I don't have the labels on here, so I'm going to try and line this up based on my bottom edge of the block. Okay, now the ink colors that I'm going to use, I'm going to basically pull out the colors that are in the designer series paper. So for the floral image, I'm going to stamp that off first, and I'm going to use the Bumblebee ink. And then for my Just a Note greeting, I'm going to use full strength Magenta Madness. So let me grab a piece of scrap paper. Have one right here. Get my Bumblebee ink. Okay, so let's ink this up. I want to kind of see how, okay. So I'm going to stamp off, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to stamp that right there. And then I'm going to take my Magenta Madness. Going to ink. Actually, let me do this first. Now, my cardstock is a bit small. There's not going to be anything for me to grab onto. So, a little tip. Get a Post-it note. And I'm going to attach it right up here on the top edge. And this kind of becomes my handle, so I can punch it out. So punch like so. There we go. So you can still reuse your Post-it note. Okay, and now I will then ink up my Just a Note. And then I'm going to go right over. I want to make sure that's kind of straight. Just going to go right over the middle of it, like so. So really cute. All right, let's close that up. And then let's finish up assembling our card. Okay, so then I'm going to take some dimensionals, put it on the back of this. So I'm going to add like 3 of them. Okay, and then go right over the middle, like so. And then I'll bring in, excuse me, my little tiny pearls. And I'm going to add 3 of these on here. So I'll add 1 down my Poppy Parade, 1 over on the card base. Something stuck to it. And then we'll add 1 more up here on this designer series paper. We'll add this one like right up here, like so. Okay, so there is our second card. Let me get this out of the way. And there's our second card. So this one was really simple, really quick to put together. Now another option you can do with this, you can get another piece of Misty Moonlight that measures 5 1/4 by 4. You can emboss it using like say a Subtles or what is it? There was a Tasteful Textile one that had a nice soft design to it that you can do as a background to these pieces as well. So let me bring in the first card. So the first one we did our stamping and we did some coloring. So we have a really pretty happy birthday card. And then we have this one here where we really use the punch and then use some designer series paper and some embossed cardstock. And then of course we have our stamped image and have that punched out and popped up as well. So if you liked the projects that I made for this episode, please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It not only helps me in growing this channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business as well. I will be going live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I hope that you'll be able to join me. We do have a fun bunch of ladies that join in with me every Friday, and we just have nice conversation. Everything's good, and what I do at the end, I do a wheel of names, and I give away the cards that I make that night as well. So I hope that you can join us. And if you're not if you're not able to, simply rewatching the replay of it, that helps as well. When you subscribe, hit the little notification bell. That does let you know whenever I post new videos or when I do go live. Now, these are my Throwback Thursdays. Again, this is where I pull out my retired stash and I will create two projects. So those are pre-recorded videos. At the beginning of each month, I also do a monthly Christmas card inspiration, to give you a little bit of inspiration, if you want to start making your Christmas cards throughout the year. And then let's see what other videos. Oh, and then there's the paper pumpkin. So whenever I get my paper pumpkin kit in the mail, I do an unboxing and then I create one of each project that's in that kit. So that one I can never tell you exactly what day I'm going to do it because it's a matter of when I get it in the mail. So I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. So wherever you may be, stay cool, stay warm, and stay safe. And everyone have a blessed one. Bye bye.